And so I wanted to focus in on this now. This is interesting too. I remember the Super Bowl is probably the best example of this, because the Super Bowl has the most expensive ad real estate anywhere in the world. I think it was something crazy like, $10 million or more for, 30 seconds of airtime. That might actually be really low. I'd have to look up that figure. Actually, let me look that up. How much was a 30-second ad in the Super Bowl this year? So $5.5 million. Or actually, a 30-second Super Bowl ad or ad spot in 2025 cost around $7 million, which some reports suggesting some ads sold for as much as $8 million. So that's a big number. Geez. And so, okay. But really, I think America's kind of done with celebrities at this point. Really, no one seems to care. And even like you got the Dunkin' commercial, so you got all the famous Boston people. You got Brady and Ben Affleck, and I think Matt Damon was in there. Like the whole cast of Good Will Hunting is just like in these commercials now. And then you have like, and even like when LeBron made Space Jam 2, I didn't see Space Jam 2. I have too much reverence. I was raised on the first Space Jam. I have too much reverence for the first one. But, really no one seemed to care about Space Jam 2 either. And I heard that it was just kind of one big infomercial, like, Amazon was in it for some reason, and they had all these different like brands that he just kind of plugged in there. And obviously, like, LeBron is the biggest walking billboard of maybe the last 25 years, except for probably Donald Trump in that way. Like, LeBron has done such a good job in meshing himself with all of these brands and getting paid back end royalties on all these things that, I mean, if you want to make a movie, I'd like you to make just a cool movie about basketball like Michael Jordan did, but, to each their own, I would say. And I think, like, you saw this in the campaign trail too. Like, Kamala Harris brought out all the celebrities. She brought out Beyonce. She brought out Chris Rock. She brought out Oprah. She brought out Meryl Streep. She brought out all these people. And no one gave a shit about that either. Like, Jennifer Lopez was like crying on stage at one point. And like, she had it was hilarious because, Kamala Harris had all those code switching accents throughout the entire campaign. Jennifer Lopez never sounded more Latina than when she was on a stage yelling about the southern border on the Kamala Harris campaign. And so anyway, from that perspective, it was ridiculous. Obviously, it was absurd. Obviously, Trump did the same thing, but he brought out like Hulk Hogan and Dana White, and like, it was much less celebrity saturated than Kamala Harris's campaign was. And so, you had all of these things, and she was doling out all of this money, like millions and millions of dollars. Like, it was something crazy. Like, I think Beyonce might have gotten $3 million for 5 minutes, and Oprah Winfrey got like $1 million to host that, and she paid like Chris Rock and a bunch of people apparently. And I don't think it's working anymore. I think celebrity more broadly is kind of dying in the traditional sense. Like, even when you look at the films that you see, like, the Oscars was just this last weekend, and it's like, who's in these movies? I have no idea. Like Mikey Madsen, who was like a porn star in, in Nora, which apparently won like 50 more Oscars than The Godfather. So like, she's in that movie. I have no idea who this woman is. And she was apparently in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is a great movie. I think actually 2019, when looking at it, was probably the last great year for movies I think that I ever saw. That was Joker. That was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That was a bunch of great movies back in that day. But it just really isn't working anymore. Like, there's all these, movies with nobodies in them, and there's all these people that are kind of doing all this like raunchy and attention grabby stuff, and every commercial's got like 50 different celebrities in it and stuff. And so it's just like, is this stuff even working anymore? Like, does this stuff even like do anything for anybody? And the answer is, I don't think so, because I think what's happening is really interesting. We're kind of almost crowding out celebrities in a way, and I think really what that means is that we're becoming our own celebrities, because it's been so institutionalized, this concept of celebrity, quote unquote. It's been, you're in Hollywood, you're in New York, you're on TV, you're in sports. But that's like everything else. All the institutions in our country are breaking down slowly but surely, and new ones are being made up. And so it's so institutionalized, it's so fabricated, and it's so implanted in terms of just kind of people are now installed about this. Jason Whitlock has made this point too about like Stephen A. Smith on ESPN is kind of just a meme at this point. Like, he doesn't really say much substantive about anything. Like, he's now currently beefing with LeBron James because of doing his actual job, which I think is hysterical. And so like, these people that are just Cat Williams says this, these planted people, these installed people, these people that are wearing dresses and, doing all these things and slapping Chris Rock, who I like actually, at the Oscars, and doing all these stunts. And it's like, what is this for? Like who are these people? Like, really, it just doesn't mean anything anymore. No one cares. I mean, it really is just, it's sad in one degree, because I do think that, again, like I just said, celebrities matter. I think heroes matter. I think like a lot of things in our culture, all of these things do matter to some degree. And it's a good and a bad thing on one hand, because on that hand, it feeds narcissism, obviously, because celebrity is now getting democratized. I actually wrote a book a lot about this. It's coming out soon. I'll let you guys know on the show that's coming up in about a month. But it feeds our narcissism. It feeds, a lot of various just bad human nature things about the human condition. It makes us think we're more important than we are, which is never a good thing. It makes us kind of make gods out of ourselves, which is kind of the core problem in our culture, I think. And so, but on the other hand, also, it gives rise to new voices and opportunity to overlooked people. So, like, for example, like Brett Cooper at the Daily Wire, or any podcaster, for example. No podcaster really had institutional help, and now we have all these, Tim Dillon has this great bit about, celebrity podcasters, like Will Arnett, like, has a podcast, and like Jack Shepard, who's a lesser celebrity than someone like Will Arnett, I would say, to a degree, although I don't really know much about Jack Shepard, but he's kind of like the Hollywood institutionalized, again, installed, implanted Joe Rogan, and he kind of has a lot of people that come on and talk to him about this stuff. But like, Joe bootstrapped everything, Chris Will bootstrapped everything, Stephen Bartlett, he bootstrapped everything, Alex Cooper, to give her some credit, she bootstrapped everything, which is, it leads to why I think a lot of people are kind of just burned out with all the celebrity stuff, why we're kind of looking to more like citizen journalism. It's kind of like the mainstream media in that way, where people are looking towards citizen celebrities. And I think that's kind of an interesting concept, because now, like, look at this show. I'm trying to be a celebrity in some way. I think what I have to say is valuable, and maybe, the market will reject it. We'll see. But I think something is going on here. And I think people are burning out of celebrity. And I think there's a lot of reasons why this is happening. And I think this is, you'll begin to realize what I have afterwards from this.